Okay. Hello. This is all right. So I hope, okay, let's start over. I hope that this is working. First off, hello. I'm really, this is a live stream. We're gonna talk about some stuff today. I want to make sure that this is working. I think that it is, but I just want to be sure before I say anything important. Hello, everyone who's here. All right, we're definitely live. Awesome. So great. Hello, everyone. We're here. I'm doing a little live stream, and I don't know if anyone's going to hop on right now, but that's okay. I just want to talk a little bit with you about some of my experiences um, with neurodivergence. I feel like this is something that I haven't talked a lot about on this channel. I've mostly talked about my spiritual journey and other things like that. But I feel like this is something else that's really kind of big in my life that I feel like is important to discuss and mention to people. But yeah, I am a neurodivergent person and I have been for my whole life, but I didn't really know until I didn't know I had ADHD until I was in college, like about a little over halfway through college, actually, was when I sought out support and then it got diagnosed with that. And then more recently, I think I've been um, realizing that I resonate a lot with some of the diagnostic criteria for autism as well, which is just interesting. And I haven't really pursued any type of like formal diagnosis by any means, and I'm not sure if I'm going to, at least not right now. But yeah, I'm just figuring out what life is like right now. I'm figuring out how to um, yeah, function better and be a more, I don't know, like more stable, I guess, overall, even though stability isn't like the hallmark of knowing that you're doing well. It's just, I think that it's helpful to feel like you're on solid ground. And for a lot of my life, I just didn't really feel like that. And I'm kind of at a place where I'm sort of feeling more stable now, really grounded. Like I actually know what's going on with me. Like I can start to make sense of like why things don't feel right with me sometimes and everything. But yeah, so in this video specifically, I want to talk about sensory issues. And one of the reasons why I think that this is such an important conversation is because before I understood sensory issues, I just really only thought that I was a very anxious person. Um, I'll share with you a lot about that experience and the means by which I guess I want to do this is with an article that I wrote a little while ago. I put it up on Medium and uh, I wrote it last month, and I just wanted to share the article with you and read it a little bit and just give some commentary on some of what's going on right now, even things that might have changed since I wrote this article a little over a month ago. All right, so I'm going to share this here with you all, and we're going to read a little bit of it together. So, all right. Recently, I've been taking a different approach to my anxiety. In the past, I assumed that the cause of my anxiety was mostly emotional. I thought of it as a product of my childhood and the impacts of racism, homophobia, transphobia, and good old capitalism. So if I felt bad, I would frantically search for some kind of emotional cause. This worked sometimes and would often help me understand my emotions better. This also made me a bit hypervigilant to my own emotional state, and there were times when I would get obsessed with trying to understand what was causing my physical sensations at any given time. It was very stressful. I got to this point where like anything would change within my internal system, and I would be like, oh my God, this means that like something's wrong emotionally, and I need to like figure out what's wrong with it. This is a little bit, I would say, too obsessive, and I was probably hyper monitoring myself at the time, but I've gotten a little bit better at that since then. So some versions of psychoanalysis and repressed memory frameworks around therapy, I think they deal with the problems of the past. And obviously this is a generalization for brevity here, but for example, if you were bullied in the past and you get anxious when you go, for example, imagine you were bullied in the past and you get anxious when you go out in public. A practitioner could assume that you get anxious because you're concerned about being judged or misunderstood by others. While the bullying could have an impact in the situation, some practitioners might not consider the impact of sensory overload due to the crowd, noise, or lights. I have to say that I treated myself the same way. I never considered my sensory needs. As I've been working on attending to my sensory needs, I've been trying to notice what it feels like to be over or understimulated. What I found is that I've been identifying certain bodily sensations as anxiety when they have likely been pointing to sensory discomfort. This feeling is close to anxiety. It's like a buzzing in my chest. It's a very familiar feeling, as I can remember feeling it at other points in my life. It can show up when I least expect it, especially in times when I think I should feel neutral. Whatever it is, it's a feeling that feels difficult to describe, and I just feel off. So this is probably really important. I really didn't I heard the words over and understimulated, but I didn't understand what they meant. But now that I feel like I'm able to actually like apply that to my life and experiment with, I guess, like different reasons for why I could be feeling different ways, things have been starting to make a lot more sense. I know the feeling. I'm not perfect at picking it out precisely every time, and I'll get to why that's so difficult in a little bit. But I know that I'm getting better in general. Yeah. So let's continue. All right. So I've been learning more about autism, and I've realized that stimming really helps reduce this kind of anxiety. I think stimming can include a bunch of different things. Excuse me. But the most effective for me involved movement. I have smaller stims that I engage in almost constantly during the day. For example, I click my teeth together repeatedly. It's hard to like do it again, but I do that like in my mouth almost all the time. So yeah, that's like a stim that almost goes on most of the day, and like other little things with my fingers that I'm almost always doing all the time. Yeah, but when that sensation is particularly strong, I need like more movement. So I might do like a yoga practice or something, or like practice handstands, and that tends to calm me down. Literally, I think really just like I'm still learning how to do handstands. I'm like training and stuff, so I just like will throw myself at the wall kind of, and that, but being upside down like really helps me. I think it's called vestibular stimming. I think that's kind of when it has to do with movement. So when people do things like rocking or spinning in circles, I think that's all vestibular stims. So I'm guessing that's what that would be, me throwing myself upside down. But that's pretty helpful. Sometimes I don't feel like doing a whole yoga practice or something, so I'll just start doing anything or like bouncing. Yeah, but it helps reduce my anxiety overall. Yeah. So the other thing is I also do these in public too. So if I'm like waiting at like the grocery store, I bounce. I never really like notice if people are looking at me, and I don't necessarily care. But that's really helpful for me to stay pretty grounded. I don't do very well in stores. I get really overwhelmed. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to talk about some more of this stuff as I move on with this. This is a very short article, but anyway. Okay, so when I'm feeling that feeling, I also check in with my hunger and thirst, and I also assess if there is something else going on sensory-wise. I am really good at tolerating sensory discomforts. And what I mean by that is I'm really good at like ignoring it, and that means that my body absorbs all the stress and I just turn into a ball of anxiety. So I needlessly push myself until I get really uncomfortable. So the point is that I've actually started to address my needs in the moment instead of paralyzing myself with emotional analysis. I'm actually looking for ways to meet my sensory needs instead of ignoring them. I'm allowing myself to do things that make me feel comfortable and relaxed, like bouncing in the store, for example. Another example is I recently purchased some noise canceling headphones. And wait, hold on, I was reading. Yeah, I recently just purchased some noise canceling headphones, and I never thought that I was impacted by sound. But I now feel more chill with these bad boys on, and I do want to try to grab some of those loop earplugs or whatever in the future. But yeah, so and some of this makes me feel like really sad because of how easy it was. Like, for example, that like literally the other night, like 2 days ago, I was sitting on the floor, and I was on the floor because I was like anxious, and sitting on the floor kind of helps ground me. And so I was sitting on the floor and I was like, what's wrong? Like, I feel really bad. I ate food. I like had water. Like there was nothing else was going on, but I was still feeling off. So I was like, am I sad about something? It was hard for me to figure out what's going on. But then I just put my wife was like, you want to try to put your headphones on? And I just put them on and literally like instantly, like my anxiety levels just like dropped. And and the reason why I say like I'm like annoyed and like mad is because it like it could have been this easy like for a lot of things. Obviously there's a ton of reasons why I've been anxious, and I have like a ton of trauma and stuff as well. So it's not like headphones fix everything, but if I had known these things earlier in my life, like imagine like how much more, I don't know, skilled I would be at like meeting my needs. Especially since I know the kind of needs that need to be met within me. And you can't know these things unless you know that you're neurodivergent. And thankfully, there's more information being kind of talked about right now. But sadly, it's taken a really long time for us to get here. Yeah, it's disappointing. But I'm happy that I figured it out. So, okay. So let's jump back to the emotional analysis thing that I brought up. Over the years, I've become increasingly hypervigilant about my internal emotional world. I've been aware of something feeling wrong with me for most of my life, and I've been trying to eradicate that feeling ever since. This is likely what began my years-long special interest in psychology and anything related to emotional well-being. Since then, mental health has become a part of my profession as a therapist and life coach. I pride myself in the way that I'm able to understand the emotional complexities in my clients and help them recognize themselves better. This has also created a lot of resistance to the idea that I might not be as in tune with my own emotions as I had thought. So yeah, I really have for most of my life like prided myself in like being pretty emotionally aware and like aware of what's going on with myself, but I had to admit that I didn't really know what was going on within me. I thought that I knew, but the things that I was associating with anxiety, some of them weren't anxiety; they were just sensory overwhelm. So there's that. Yeah. So my issue was I was mostly trying to cognitively understand my experiences and analyze my past for potential meaning. This kept me disconnected from what was actually going on in my body, and therefore I continued to ignore my needs. I just find it interesting that it took me this long to realize all of the sensory factors that were contributing to my anxiety/discomfort. Of course, I still have anxiety for other reasons, but I'm learning how to understand the signals my body is sending me. And we're almost done here, but the other thing, and I mentioned this a couple times in this as I was talking, is alexithymia. So I'm going to read a little bit more about it right here. So alexithymia, real quickly, is actually, it comes from I think the Latin word that means like no words for emotions. So yeah. So alexithymia makes it hard for folks with it to know and or express what they're feeling. It's not a condition on its own, but it also comes with things like autism and ADHD and other mental health conditions as well. Because of alexithymia, I sometimes struggle to know the difference between my physical sensations and emotions. So sometimes I have that strange tingling in my chest that feels similar to anxiety, but it's a little bit different because my mental state doesn't feel anxious. So I end up feeling very confused about my emotions overall sometimes. So now I've started to actually assume that sensations means that there's something physical or sensory going on, and I try to meet my needs first before I go like digging for some type of deeper emotional meaning. And as I learn to focus more on actually being present with my body and not just focusing on analyzing my emotions, I believe I will be able to develop this skill over time. I tend to feel frustrated that it's taken me so long to address these challenges, but I'm glad I'm doing something about it now. And I hope that this encourages some of y'all to attend to your needs a little bit more closely and without shame. And I hope that that was interesting for some of you to read. Hopefully I remember to link this article in the video. I might not, but we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now with all of this stuff. I actually, the other day, so like I said earlier, I don't do well in stores. I have always felt weird when I went into stores, but I never really knew why. And this was actually like a huge source of tension between me and my wife because often, like she would want to go to the store and like interact with me and talk to me about things, and I would like be really quiet and really irritable in the stores, and I would have a hard time focusing on anything. My wife would have to be like, okay, Matt, like go get some milk. And I would like go get milk and kind of like wait for the next like thing. I couldn't really like do things on my own being in there just because of how overwhelmed I was. But the other day I tried wearing headphones to the store for the first time, and I didn't really notice much of a difference in the way that like I felt like it was fine. But when I left, I talked to my wife, and she was like, "Oh my God, it was like night and day. Like you actually like talked to me while we were out in the store, and you were like proactive about shopping and everything." So, yeah, like just knowing a little bit more about your brain and actually like treating your brain with respect and treating your body with respect in terms of like giving your body what it needs really does a lot in terms of like helping your mental health overall and helping you enjoy life a little bit more. I think way too many people are just suffering, thinking that there's just something, knowing that there's something wrong with them, but not understanding what it is. And for you, it doesn't have to be autism or ADHD or whatever, but learning how to figure out like what really is going on with your brain really, really helps. And yeah, I think that there was a long time where I was kind of trying to avoid my brain and avoid accepting the fact that I was different. I really like didn't want to be this way. If I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't want to have a brain like this. I didn't want to have to struggle in the ways that I do, but I am. Like this is what I've got right now. So all I can do is just like accept it and no longer live in denial of kind of like what's going on with me. And now that I've kind of like accepted this part of me, I actually feel more confident about other things in life in the future, because I know how to like tend to myself and take care of myself in real practical ways. Yeah. If any of you resonate with any of this stuff, please let me know about it in the comments below. I really appreciate you sticking it out and checking out this video. And I haven't really done any of these on YouTube before, any live streams. I've done them in other places, but I might be doing them a little bit more often here on YouTube, just for convenience, honestly. And I want to be a little bit more consistent with that and everything. So yeah, I hope to be doing more of these things in the future. Let me know if you like this more casual, off the cuff style of video, and me just kind of like rambling about what's on my brain and everything, and reading articles or doing other things. I do have some other things kind of planned even for this weekend, and hopefully you will all enjoy that. The other thing is, if you enjoyed this video, please check out my link at Buy Me a Coffee. If it's not under this video, it's definitely under the last video that I just released. So I would appreciate any support for this channel. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for being Okay, not sure what just happened, but bye is what I was gonna say, is bye. All right, hopefully I can edit this out or something of the video. Bye.